Hi guys, I'm Liam Thorpe from the LiverpoolEcho. We're here today at Landican Cemetery in the Wirral, and we've just been privileged really to be a part of and be able to witness the funeral of somebody that everyone in this region seems to know, Peter Mickle, also known as Busker Pete. We had the sad news early this month that Peter, who everyone will know from his unique busking and his unique suits and his unique personality, mainly in Church Street in Liverpool but elsewhere in the region. He's entertained people for so long in the Liverpool city centre. The sad news that he had passed away early this month at the age of 64, and we were really privileged to be invited down by the family to report on and cover Peter's funeral today, which was more of a celebration of life than a funeral, I would say. It was full of warm stories, of laughs, of humorous moments, of fond memories of a man who clearly touched so many people's lives. So just going to take you back through, obviously we can't film inside the funeral, so just going to talk a bit about what happened in the short service, which was attended by about 50-60 people.
I'd say 50 or 60 people.
It was a decent turnout, and people were asked to wear bright colours because, as you know, that's what Peter would wear. So that's why I'm here in my bright green shirt, and we heard some really great stories about Peter, about his time growing up. Originally born in Barrow-in-Furness and then moved to the Wirral at the age of 5. He later went on to be in the Merchant Navy, and he was on the QE2. Heard some spicy stories about his time at sea, including sharing a spliff with Mick Jagger, apparently.
That shocked me. Yeah. Well, maybe it didn't shock me, actually.
And then something about smuggling drugs in America. So that was from Peter's nephew, Lee, who told some really good stories about what a generous and kind uncle Peter was. Everyone described him as a unique person who did his own thing, and actually the music when we came into the chapel was My Way by Frank Sinatra, which I think the family thought very much summed Busker Pete up, because he certainly did things his own way, didn't he? And then the celebrant, who did a really good job of summing things up, told us how Peter was a passionate entertainer. She said an awful singer, but he didn't care about that at all. I think anyone who's heard him in Church Street would probably agree singing wasn't necessarily his top skill, but he did it anyway, and he belted it out on his plastic microphone, and people loved it. You know, I remember constantly walking past on Church Street, and you could be busy going about your jobs, going about the shops or whatever, and you just stop for a minute to hear Peter doing his thing. Very unique. So they're just moving through some of the things that were said. Yeah, the celebrant described him as a busking legend, which I think we can all agree is very fair. And when Peter's nephew Lee got up to speak, it was really, really nice. He brought his own microphone, as Peter would. He just said, his childhood memories, being told those amazing stories. He said, obviously, as he got older, you know, he did have some difficult times. He perhaps went down some difficult paths, but it was about 10 to 15 years ago when they said he really found his passion, which was busking and entertaining people. And there was a really nice moment where his nephew Lee said, you know, Peter, you can imagine he's up there now with a microphone, entertaining everyone up there, and that's just what he loved to do. It was also important to point out the family were really grateful for some of the people who kind of supported Peter and cared for him in his latter years. That includes the Charles Street Mission in Birkenhead, where Peter was an absolute regular. He would go to the breakfast clubs every Sunday, get some breakfast, but just share stories, tell jokes, entertain everyone, and they all absolutely loved him there. I actually once went to meet him there and interview him there, and he was the absolute star of the show. When he walked in, everyone just surrounded him, and they wanted to spend time with him and be around him. And there's also the Paper Cup coffee shop in Liverpool, where again Peter's sister Carol said she was really grateful to know that these places were there for Peter, and when he needed some support, when he needed some friends and some love, they were there as well. So, as I say, it was a really warm-hearted and kind of joyous occasion, really, because people didn't want to be too sad today. They wanted to celebrate this unique life, this legacy. We heard the word legend a lot today, and I think that's totally fair. You know, Peter Mickle's legend will go down in Merseyside history. You know, people will always remember Pete the Busker from Church Street and the joy and the entertainment that he brought to everyone. There was a nice moment at the end where Peter's nephew said, you know, we didn't know he was such a legend. To us, he was just Uncle Pete, but they said they've been absolutely overwhelmed by the tributes, the the warm wishes, and people have been contributing money as well to make sure this funeral could happen. There's also going to be a memorial afternoon later in the year at the Charles Street Mission in Birkenhead, which was of course one of his favourite places, and loads of people will be there to share stories and talk about the life of a Merseyside legend, and I think we were pretty privileged to be there today.
Definitely, yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, and rest in peace, Pete.